Why is it that after masturbating you often don't feel relaxed and empowered, but empty, foggy, and a little disappointed in yourself, even when nobody shames you and you told yourself it was just self-care? What if the real cost isn't physical at all, but spiritual? In this video, we're going to talk about masturbation in a way your sex ed class never did, as a constant leak in your life force. Not from a place of moral panic or purity culture, but from raw observation, energy, focus, and drive that slowly drain away. If you've noticed that the more you masturbate, especially to porn, the less motivated, less creative, and less connected you feel, that's not an accident. Something subtle is being traded every time you seek that quick hit of pleasure. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's being traded and how to take it back. Before we dive in, let's set the frame. This isn't a video about shame, sin, or telling you what you're allowed to do with your body. It's about power. Your sexual energy is one of the most concentrated forms of life force you have. How you use it shapes your mood, your discipline, and even your sense of purpose. I'll walk you through how chronic masturbation, especially paired with high stimulus porn, can fragment your attention, drain your willpower, and dull your spiritual sensitivity. We'll look at ancient traditions that guarded sexual energy, modern dopamine science, and the emotional fallout most people quietly ignore. If you're curious about why you feel spiritually flat after a binge, or why your ambition dies the moment porn becomes nightly routine, stay with me till the end. And if topics like this help you grow, consider subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss future deep dives. Let's start with this phrase, life force. Different cultures call it by different names, prana, chi, ki, or gone, but they all point to the same thing, the subtle energy that animates you. You recognize it when you feel truly alive, eyes bright, posture open, mind sharp, deeply present in your body. Sexual energy is one of the densest expressions of this life force. That's why sexual desire can feel overwhelming. It's pure, creative power seeking an outlet. Ancient traditions warned that spilling this energy carelessly, without intention or connection, leads to a sense of inner depletion. You might not believe in chakras or meridians, yet you've likely felt the difference between days when your sexual energy is contained versus days after a porn binge. One feels like pressure that can be channeled into work, art, or training. The other feels like a balloon slowly losing air. That deflation is the spiritual drain we're focusing on. So what exactly happens when you masturbate, especially with porn? On a physical level, your brain gets a massive hit of dopamine and other neurochemicals tied to reward and bonding. That's not inherently evil. Your biology is designed to reward sex because it supports reproduction and connection. The problem is repetition without depth. When you masturbate frequently to increasingly stimulating porn, your brain learns to seek the quickest, most intense climax with the least amount of effort or emotional risk. Spiritually, that trains you to avoid discomfort, vulnerability, and intimacy. Your nervous system becomes wired for escape instead of engagement. You reach for your phone, your browser, your private tab instead of reaching inward to face boredom, loneliness, or pain. Over time, this habit doesn't just use energy, it teaches your spirit that whenever it feels something difficult, you'll sedate it instead of listening. That's where the deeper drain begins. Think about what you trade in those moments. You might tell yourself, I'm just relaxing, it only takes a few minutes. But those minutes are rarely just minutes. You trade clarity for fog. After orgasm, especially if it's rushed and porn-driven, many people report a slump, low motivation, mild sadness, self-criticism. You also trade presence for fantasy. The more your arousal is linked to pixels and scripts, the less able you are to feel turned on by real human energy, real eyes, real touch. On a spiritual level, you trade depth for intensity. You go for the loudest sensation instead of the most meaningful connection. And perhaps most significantly, you trade your capacity to sit with yourself, your loneliness, frustration, creative tension, for the illusion of relief. Those small trades compound. Over months and years, they shape the person you become, either someone powered by contained energy or someone constantly leaking it. One of the most destructive effects of chronic masturbation is what it does to your willpower. Will is the bridge between your intentions and your reality. Every time you say, "This is the last time," then cave to the same late night impulse, you're not just losing semen or physical energy, you're weakening your trust in yourself. Spiritually, that trust is everything. It's the foundation of integrity. When you repeatedly break your own boundaries, your inner voice stops believing you. Ambitions feel hollow because a deeper part of you whispers, "We both know you won't follow through." Porn-fueled masturbation hits this system hard because the reward is instant and intense, requiring almost no courage, creativity, or discipline. It's pleasure without any growth. Over time, that pattern bleeds into other areas: quitting when things get hard, procrastinating, numbing with food or social media. Your will isn't just tired, it's slowly eroded. Another hidden cost is how masturbation, especially accompanied by aggressive porn, rewires what you find attractive. Your arousal becomes tied to novelty, performance, and extremes. Real people with real bodies and imperfect moments can start to feel not enough. Spiritually, this is devastating because it pulls you away from true intimacy. Instead of relating to a partner, or even yourself as a whole being, you start relating to disembodied body parts, positions, and categories. The soul of the other person disappears behind a script. Many people notice they feel more socially anxious, disconnected, or emotionally numb the more they rely on porn and masturbation. It's not just guilt, it's that your nervous system has been conditioned to find safety in one-sided digital control, not in mutual vulnerability. Over time, this makes spiritual connection, love, empathy, awe, harder to feel, because your attention has been trained to seek stimulation, not presence. Let's talk about emptiness. Many people describe a specific feeling after masturbation, a hollow, slightly depressed state they can't quite explain. Biochemically, some of this is a natural post-orgasm dip, but spiritually, there's more going on. Orgasm is like opening a valve in your energetic system. If the energy is shared, loving, and intentional, that release can feel expansive. You dissolve into something bigger. But when it's rushed, secretive, and fueled by shame or compulsive porn use, that same opening can feel like a leak. You pour out energy without receiving anything nourishing back. No eye contact, no tenderness, no reciprocity, just a solitary nervous system spiking and crashing alone. Over time, your spirit learns this pattern. Peak, crash, regret, resolve, repeat. That loop can make you feel fundamentally broken, when in reality, your system is just starving for a different quality of connection and expression. Sexual energy isn't only about sex, it's raw creative fuel. When you hold that energy instead of instantly discharging it, something interesting happens. You might feel restless, even frustrated. That's the pressure building. But if you choose not to numb it with quick release, that pressure can be redirected. Artists, entrepreneurs, athletes, and spiritual practitioners across history have used periods of sexual restraint to supercharge their work. From a spiritual perspective, this isn't superstition. It's simple energy economics. The same force that wants to create physical life can also write a book, build a business, or deepen meditation. Chronic masturbation, especially daily or multiple times a day, constantly flattens that wave before it can crest. You never let the energy reach a level where it becomes transformative. You stay in a loop of small, predictable pleasure instead of risking the discomfort that could become creative fire. Another spiritual cost is how chronic masturbation affects your emotional range. When you repeatedly use orgasm as your primary way to cope with boredom, stress, sadness, or anxiety, you teach your system that strong feelings should be sedated, not explored. Over time, you may notice you feel more flat in general. Highs are less high, lows are numbed rather than processed. You become less intimate with your own inner world. This matters spiritually because growth requires feeling. Insight, compassion, and transformation usually arrive after you sit with discomfort long enough to hear what it's telling you. If every uncomfortable emotion triggers a scroll and stroke reflex, you rob yourself of that depth. You stay on the surface of your life, never fully grieving, never fully rejoicing, just managing. That management mode might look functional from the outside, but inside your spirit is underfed, starved of real, honest emotional experience. Culture often swings between two extremes. Masturbation is totally harmless, do it whenever, and masturbation is filthy and sinful. Both miss the point. The real question isn't, is masturbation allowed, but what is it doing to my energy, my relationships, and my purpose? When you approach it spiritually, the focus shifts from rules to awareness. You notice how you feel before, during, and after. You notice when it's a conscious choice versus a compulsion. You question the role porn plays in shaping your desires. You ask, does this practice make me more present, more loving, more powerful, or more foggy, secretive, and fragmented? No spiritual path worth following is about blind guilt or blind indulgence. It's about aligning your behavior with the kind of person your soul is trying to become. Chronic, mindless masturbation quietly works against that alignment, not because you're bad, but because your energy is being mismanaged. Let's be specific about the signs your spirit is being drained. First, compulsion. You tell yourself you won't, but still find your hand typing the same websites. Second, escalation. What aroused you 6 months ago barely moves the needle now, so you seek more extreme content. Third, disconnection. You feel awkward around real attraction, avoiding eye contact or intimacy. Fourth, energy crashes. Strong urges beforehand, then lethargy, brain fog, or irritability after. Fifth, spiritual dullness. Practices like prayer, meditation, or deep conversation feel harder, less vivid. These aren't just random quirks, they form a pattern of energy misalignment. Recognizing this isn't about self-hate. It's about finally naming what you felt for a long time, but couldn't explain. Once you see the pattern clearly, you can stop calling it just a habit and start treating it as a serious leak in your system that deserves your attention and respect. Reclaiming your spirit from this drain doesn't require perfection or lifelong celibacy. It starts with honesty and intention. First, reduce or eliminate porn. It's the most spiritually corrosive piece because it hijacks your imagination and rewires your arousal. Second, create streaks, periods of intentional abstinence from masturbation to let your energy build. Notice how your mind, mood, and body change. Third, redirect that rising energy into something bigger than you. Creative projects, deep study, service, physical training, or spiritual practice. Fourth, feel your emotions instead of escaping them. Journal, breathe, move, cry if you need to. Finally, if you do choose to masturbate, bring consciousness into it. No porn, no rush, no self-disgust. Approach your body with respect, not as a device to be drained. Over time, you'll feel it. More presence in your eyes, more strength in your spine, more fire in your purpose. Let's condense everything we've explored into a few core truths. First, masturbation itself isn't the enemy. Unconscious, compulsive use, especially with porn, is. It drains your spirit by leaking life force without giving you real connection or growth in return. Second, your sexual energy is creative power. You can spend it in three ways: numbing yourself, bonding with another, or building something meaningful. Chronic solo release wired to screens keeps you stuck in the first category. Third, every relapse isn't a moral failure, but a data point. Notice your triggers, your emotional state, your thoughts after. Use that information to refine your boundaries and practices. Fourth, when you start containing and redirecting this energy, you'll notice shifts: clearer eyes, stronger will, deeper emotions, richer spiritual experiences. Your spirit responds quickly when leaks are plugged. The hidden cost of masturbation is real, but so is the hidden potential when you choose differently. If this resonated with you, don't just close the tab and forget it. Take one concrete step tonight. Maybe you delete the bookmarks. Maybe you commit to 7 days without porn. Maybe you journal about what masturbation has actually been costing you. Not what memes say, but what your spirit knows. Share in the comments, if you feel safe, where you're at in this journey and what you're aiming for next. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs. If you want more content that treats your sexuality, mind, and spirit as one connected system, hit subscribe and tap the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. Rewatch this whenever you feel yourself slipping into autopilot. You are not weak or broken. You're powerful, and your energy is precious. Start guarding it like it matters, because the life you're meant to live depends on it.